welcome in, everybody. Super, super exciting. Not an official episode of BBL, but something even more special tonight. Part of our guest series, interview series. And this week, it is Mr. Scott Constable. We found him, what was it, Jet? Like a month, 2 months ago?
Yeah.
On TikTok. He's been blowing up on TikTok, and he believes, and you guys will see here in a second, that he can create new neural pathways and build a spider web within the Detroit Lions organization that will bring a Super Bowl to the city in 2026. So when we saw his content, we said we have to bring him on the podcast. We've got to push this message out and do our part in bringing a Super Bowl to the city. That was one thing. We took a look in the mirror and thought, what can we do to help bring a Super Bowl to the city? And this was our part in that. So Scott Constable, Jet, before we play the interview for everyone, what's your message to the fans, to the listeners?
Get ready. Get ready. Scott Constable is coming on the scenes quick. And we need your support, Detroit, because if we don't land him, another team's going to snatch him up.
I'm really glad you said that. And it's true, because this is one of the big reasons we stepped in is the Lions were ignoring him, and he, for a short period of time, he moved on to the Bears, and he was sending messages to Ben Johnson. And guys, Detroit, we can't let that happen. Absolutely cannot let that happen. So we'll quit talking. We'll get into the interview. Stark wasn't able to hop on for the intro, but he is on the interview. You guys will see him in a second. Please tag the Lions. Send this to your friends. Spread the word. Make sure this gets out to the masses because, again, we cannot let Ben Johnson or the Green Bay Packers or the Philadelphia Eagles, somebody out there, identify Scott and pick him up. We need to keep him home in Detroit so we can bring a Super Bowl to the city. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, here is Scott Constable on BBL Sports.
Let's go.
All right, welcome in. Very, very special guest today. We have Mr. Scott Constable on BBL Sports. We're going to dive into a ton of really exciting stuff today. But Scott, why don't you just start us off? Introduce yourself to the listeners. Who are you? Where are you from?
That would be me. I'm Scott Constable. I live in Roscommon, Michigan. I was born and raised in Clarkston, and I love the mountains. Lived all over the Blue Ridge Mountains and the Ozark Mountains. I'm a mountain guy.
We love the mountains as well. That's good deal, and we appreciate you coming on today. We're going to talk about some pretty hard-hitting stuff, and if you guys are not familiar with Scott, you got to make yourselves familiar with Scott. You got to check out. He's active on X. He's active on TikTok. You can find him, Scott Constable. And we're doing our part. Big reason to bring him on the show here is we feel like we're doing our part to bring a Super Bowl to the city in Detroit in 2026. That is the end goal here. And so, Scott, we're going to get into the neural pathway stuff. You're going to enlighten us into that world and this spider web that you keep talking about. But where we want to start before we get into this is, when did you start becoming a sports fan, and more specifically, when did you start becoming a Detroit Lions fan?
Oh, that was young, 6, 7, 8 years old. I was the youngest of 6 kids, and my oldest brother was a big gambler, man, always betting on sports, and I was always intrigued, And I remember watching the Lions, man. I grew up watching the Lions my whole life. I think most of us did. And, man, I remember that 0-16 team that Dan Campbell was on. It was just so brutal. It was brutal, man. I mean, being a Lions fan and loving the Lions, that shit can be brutal, man. It's been a long, long road. It's been a long road.
Jet, I know you got a question for Scott on this topic.
For sure, yeah. Scott, once again, thanks so much for coming on. You've been a Lions fan your whole life. Why now is now the time you're reaching out to the Detroit Lions to help us win a Super Bowl? Is it Dan Campbell, or is it just this team?
That's a good question. My man. I appreciate that. What a softball question, too. I love it. Uh, no, I've been doing this shit for 20 years. I've got emails. I got an email posted on my door with the picture of Jesus right above it where he's knocking, right? That was from like 3 years ago. So, here, just 1 second. Yeah, I got 1 second. Yeah, see, look at this hat, man. Look at this. I used to wear this, man. I mean, this isn't the first time. I had these hats special made. I wore them out in public. I really thought I was going to the line years and years ago. But, God's time and my time's not the same. And God's delays
For
are
sure.
not God's denials. So here I am. I'm still at it, man. But I've sent
What a
messages
quote.
to every professional sports team in the country at one point, saying, "Hey, I'm right here. Look at me," He just hasn't. It's never really panned out. So you just kind of learn to be patient, man. You learn to be patient. It's been a long road.
Hey, patience is a virtue, and fingers crossed, our Lions are going to be the one to pick up on it because I'm excited for this Super Bowl.
I'm so excited I can't stand it. I'm just looking for 5 minutes or into 5 hours.
Stark, you got a question before we hop in?
I feel like the question I want to bring to the table, we want to talk more about the neural pathways first. I guess I'll start it. I guess I'll ask another question. Scott, like Joey said, and Adam, thanks for being here. We're super happy to have you on our show. Here's my question. Do you have like a moment in your Detroit sports fandom that like you remember as being the moment you were bought in? Because for me, I remember getting so mad about the Dallas Cowboys playoff game when they called was it no pass interference against us? And I remember that moment. I was like, we're going to do this at some point. And ever since then, I've been fully bought in. So do you have that moment when you were a kid or when you were an adult of like something happening or about to happen or close to happening that like fully dragged you in to Detroit as a sports fan?
Well, my moment's different than your moment. Yes. I was always a big sports fan. And then when I learned the technique, when I learned the system of the new neural pathways, I was like, that's it. Detroit Lions Super Bowl. I know enough. And every year I thought I knew enough, and I did not know. I did not know. And the epiphany really come to me about 3 months ago because I've been doing this. I got to be really careful.
All right.
I don't want to give it away. But I've been doing this for a long time, and I've always believed that I knew enough 17 years ago to take the Detroit Lions to the Super Bowl. But I had an epiphany about 3 months ago. God showed me the final piece of this, and that final piece was the spider web. It's a spider web. And so, and we'll get into that. So that was mine, is when I realized I could actually create new neural pathways that realign people's rules, values, and beliefs. I was, boom, Detroit Lion guy right there. That was my moment.
Love it. I love that. So you everything you've ever done is it's for the Detroit Lions. Would you agree with that? Like you're
that's the last 20 years. I had a totally different career in a totally different path in my life. I was the first one in this country to do a real estate infomercial on splittable real estate. Splittable real estate is when you buy one parcel, you split it into 4. So I had a whole system and no money down, 15 CDs, 26-point checklist that if you fill out, I can buy any piece of real estate in the world if you answer these 26 things. So I was going to be this big real estate developer, and God had other plans, man. He took all my wealth away, rubbed my face in the mud puddle, and say, listen, homie, you're not over there, you're over here. And man, oh man, that's a brutal road to go down. But I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
The longer your sit down, the bigger your reward. I'm still waiting for that reward, Jesus.
Yeah.
Still knocking.
Yeah. It's coming.
Hey.
It's coming. And it comes
It's
in the
coming.
form of a Super Bowl ring.
Faith.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right, Scott, we're 7.5 minutes in, and I know the listeners are dying, and I know you're dying to share. For the next however long it takes, the floor is yours. Pitch us on this idea. What is this power that you've got, and how are you going to lead the Lions to a Super Bowl victory? Floor is yours.
Well, before we get into the big neural pathways, I'm going to work with someone. I got the same three questions that I'm going to ask somebody. And I'd ask the same questions to Fat Karen or Dan Campbell or Jared Goff. And these
I'll be the fat Kevin.
the first question I would like to ask, because I got to surf the subconscious, I need to know what I'm working with. The first question I would ask is, I'd ask all three of you, when you're alone, all by yourself, maybe driving down the road, do you ever have a feeling like you're looking for something? One of you guys have
Every day.
You know the feeling.
All the time.
Adam's a yes.
Who said that, Adam?
I would say Adam.
All right, listen, I'm going to connect 5 dots in your mind in like 40 seconds, and then you're going to tell me what you've been looking for years. Dot number 1. Somewhere back in your past, you had a real painful experience and you went through emotional threshold. You don't have to share the experience with me, but can you go to it?
I can.
Dot 1. When that happens, you stop doing 4 things very important to you. 2 of them are on the surface and 2 are down very deep. The 2 on the surface, one word starts with an F and the other starts with a C. And the F was not fucking, you didn't stop it.
All right.
Focus.
You got that dot feeling?
I think I've got the dot.
All right. What goes hand in hand with feeling starts with a C?
Connection.
Caring. Got that dot?
Obviously, Adam.
I got the dot.
All right. You had the painful experience. You went through emotional threshold. You stopped feeling. You stopped caring. And when that happens, you stop doing 2 things more important. One starts with an L, and the other starts with an R. And if you say living,
Love.
big boy, I'm going to come right through the screen and get your ass.
Loving.
Love.
I stopped loving.
What's the R? Big black woman sung a song about it.
RESPECT.
My man, my brother, he got it. Okay. All right. Who did you stop loving and respecting? Everybody, including who?
Yourself.
My man. I think it here and it comes out there. All right. So you're gonna tell me right now. You had the painful experience. You went through emotional threshold. You stopped feeling. You stopped caring. You stopped loving yourself. You stopped respecting yourself. When that happens, you lost something. And the very thing that you lost is what you've been looking for. What did you lose?
You guys want me to say what I lost?
Yeah. Hell yeah.
I know what I know what I've been looking for.
Well, say it.
My traumatic experience was in 2008
Well,
when my Detroit Lions went 0-16.
I knew you were going to say that.
No. That's not when you lost yourself.
I lost myself, Scott,
Not when they went 0-16.
for a couple years, and when they went 0-16, I was done. I'm not bullshitting right now. I was done.
For the Detroit Lions, that normally happens when you lose a loved one or abuse or a bad divorce, and you got tied up in the Lions. Or when the Lions went, you went with them. Julio, come on,
did.
man.
And
that's thinking. I got love for you, brother, but whoa, holy shit! I
lost my love for the team, Scott.
Oh man,
I lost my love for the team.
Adam, be real. Be real.
I'm not bullshitting. I was 12 years old.
All right.
And that messed me up. And so I think I know what we need to do now. I know what I need to do.
Well, yeah. Well, if you were here with me, this is part of the stuff I do. This is my strength. Not only I know what you're looking for, I know how to fix that stuff. In 8-10 minutes, you'll be walking around on your tiptoes with a pep in your step.
Can I ask you a question, Scott?
Anything.
Is this method more of a method to make a more comfortable with themselves so they can perform at a higher level? Are you is this like a sports psychology kind of technique you're pulling on us? Because I thought it was brilliant.
No, that's an excellent question, but we're going to get into that in 3-4 minutes. Let's just stay on the questions. And all right, The thing you were looking for is yourself. That's the first question I'd ask anybody. And I can promise you, people on NFL teams wandering around looking for themselves, and the really gold lies is on the practice squad. You get a guy who's looking for himself, and he's made it to the practice squad in the NFL. Holy shit. Okay, so now listen, there's 2 more questions. These are the next questions. This is where the real gold lies. The next question I'm going to ask, and I'll ask Adam, what's the biggest thing you learned from your dad?
How to treat others.
Nice. What's the biggest thing you learned from your mom?
How to love unconditionally.
See, I love you, man. I love you. See, both of those are stated in the positive. But if you get one that's stated in the positive and you get one that's stated in the negative, oh, man, they went through their whole life like that. I can tell you they've got a rule buried deep in their subconscious mind they don't even know about. A rule is like if this and then that. But let's go into the whole thing about the beliefs, values, and rules, just really brief so we all are on the same page. So a belief is something we feel certain about. The stronger the feeling of certainty, the stronger the belief. And if you think of your belief as a tabletop, and then the table legs are the references that led to then reinforce that feeling of certainty to hold that belief up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does.
You have these references that you go through, experiences in your life, and they create your beliefs. And most of our beliefs and values we're not even really conscious of. And then you got your values. If I want to find out your life value, Adam, I'm going to ask you, what's most important to you in your life, Adam? What is it? What's most important to you?
Family.
What's second?
Career.
What's third?
You know, I messed up. Religion's got to be in there somewhere.
Oh, man. One for me is faith. It's all good. I just put you on the spot. It's all
I was saying, I didn't think about that. That's got to be in there somewhere.
If you want to find out somebody's life values, you ask them what's most important to you in their life. And then now a rule is if this, then that. Like I've got a rule in my life right now that is I found 600 acres down the road with its own private lake. Well, actually, it's not 600, but anyways. And I have a rule that says I can buy that if I've got a contract in the NFL. But I'll tell you, but these rules can sabotage you. I mean, I worked with a girl one time that she saw over a 35-year period, she saw 25 psychologists and psychiatrists. Everybody thought she was crazy. She come to my bonfire one night, and this guy told me, Scott, this woman's amazing. The sex is incredible. You just wouldn't believe it. But she's just nuts. She's nuts. And I said, well, bring her on out, man. So I broke her down this bonfire, and I found out her rule. She was molested by her dad. She was in foster care, all these homes, and she was raped. It was just terrible. So she had a rule, and her rule was that she needed a guy. She had a belief that she needed a guy. But then she had a rule was if I'm with a man, then they'll hurt me. So she had a belief she needed a man. So she went out and got a guy. Well, now once she's got that guy, she's got a rule. If I'm with a guy, then they're going to hurt me. She's going to do whatever she's got to do to get beat up. She'll make them beat him. It's her rule. And I figured that stuff out. I'm going through her subconscious. She's like, I've been told that before, and then I hit the Holy Grail, man. I broke the code, and then I saw her like 2 years later, and she come up, said, Scott, she hugged me, and she's like, oh my God, let me introduce you to my boyfriend. And they were together for like 2 years. And it was just her rule it was messing her all up. And there's people that are on the practice squad in the NFL that are looking for something. They've got parents that, because let's face it, you get in the NFL, some of these boys, they got true homies with hoodies, man. True homies. These boys they're the real deal, man. They're the real deal. So you get rid of their conflicting rule, they find what they're looking for. Now they be starters in the NFL. They go from the practice squad to being a starter because they had all this sabotaged and this junk just buried in there. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
sure.
it does.
All right, so we went through the preview of the questions. Looking for something, biggest thing you learn from your mom, biggest thing you learn from your dad. So let's get into the neural pathways and the colors. Let's say Fat Karen comes to me and she wants to lose 75 pounds. Okay, Fat Karen, the first thing we got to do, and we're going to do the same thing with Jared Goff, Dan Campbell, or Fat Karen. The first thing we got to put in there is the 6 human needs. I was sitting in a mastery seminar like 30 some years ago in Hawaii with Tony Robbins, watching him pace back and forth across the stage, breaking these human needs down. And the human needs are basically, everybody has the need to feel important and significant. We all have the need to feel certain. We want to feel certain. We all have the need for love and connection. And we all have the need for growth. Everything in life is either growing or dying. We all have the need for growth. We have the need for contribution. And then life cannot be boring without variety. You all need some type of variety. I mean, you're in a relationship, it gets boring. You go start an argument to whip it up to get some variety. You know what I'm saying? So those are the 6 human needs. And if you get a person filled up, oozing from the inside out of the 6 human needs and they're fulfilled, oh man, now we got something. Now I really got something I can work with because I don't have any confusion rolling around in the subconscious. Now, Fat Karen, we got her filled with the 6 human needs, and we're going to have a problem here. See, we need Fat Karen to congruently believe that nothing tastes as good as Thin Fields. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm going to be doing this little technique in the system on Fat Karen, right? Well, Fat Karen's going to be going through this for a while. And Fat Karen, I'm going to say, tell me the colors. And Fat Karen's going to tell me she's seeing white. And that's the color Fat Karen's going to see. That's really what it means. And basically what the white color means is I have got a connection. I've got a connection from the nervous system through the subconscious leak to the brain because Karen's seeing the color white. Now, I'm building a road. People call them neural pathways. I'm building concrete freeways, man. Concrete freeways. Now, Karen has Fat Karen. Fat Karen, she's got problems. She's got a lot of confliction rolling around in the subconscious, and she needs a lot of help. And what's going to happen is I'm going through and I'm building this nothing tastes as great as Thin Field stuff. And Karen's going to have to be committed because she's going to feel like she's in a 20-foot sailboat crossing the Atlantic because she's going to have some battles in her brain because she has no references to being fucking nothing tastes as great as Thin Fields. Karen ain't got them references. So she's going to be down in the bottom of this sailboat with her head blocking off the walls like she's just going to get beat the hell up. And then she's going to think it's okay and she's going to peek her head out the top and someone's going to bop her in the head, play a whack-a-mole. Because Karen's going to have all these battles. Going to experience. Fat Karen's going to have all these battles that she's going to have pain-pleasure issues with. Pain-pleasure issues. So I can track Fat Karen's I can track her progress through the subconscious till the point where I know where her battles are, and I know when she becomes congruent, and she's almost there where she believes she's unconsciously confident, to the point where it snaps and she becomes unconsciously confident. Now, if I'm working with Jared Goff and we put the 6 human needs in, we know he's filled with, he's gushing out of the top with enthusiasm and self-love and self-respect and all that stuff. Well, with Jared Goff, I would put in like he's laser focused. He's got a laser arm. He has a laser throw. And I would condition these things in after the 6 human needs. Now, his first color is not going to be white. Jared Goff is going to be seeing greens or turquoises because he's already got references to making laser throws. You understand what I'm saying? Do you see the difference?
I do.
Yeah,
Okay, so
I do get it.
see different colors, but so now once we get Jared Goff all filled up, we got him zoomed in on the laser focus, laser arm, laser throw. We're going to build. We got a concrete freeway we're driving down. We're going to build an exit ramp, and when you get off this ramp, there's going to be these are going to be the things there's going to be on this ramp. We're going to have like winner, playmakers. You score touchdowns. And then at the bottom of this exit ramp, there's not going to be a stop sign. It's going to be a pop-up. You're going to have a pop-up there. And the pop-up's going to say Delta Dawn. So we're going to go through and we're going to condition all of these things. Winner, playmaker, you score touchdowns, Delta Dawn. We're going to drive this right through. So now we got neural pathways that are linked down to all 4 of these things. So now then we're going to go to the offense. The whole offensive line, maybe not the center, but we're going to go through the running backs and receivers.
Penei Sewell.
What's that?
I said Penei Sewell, JMO, the whole crew.
Yeah, the whole offense. The whole offense. We're going to go through and we're going to put those same things in there along with the 6 human needs, and we'll put those same things in there like winner, playmaker, you score touchdowns, Delta Dawn, and we drive those neural pathways in so they're concrete. Now, the reason you have Delta Dawn in there is it's an anchor. You ever know how you listen to a song and you like it, it makes you feel good, and then you hear the song again, you like it, makes you feel good, you hear the song again, it makes you feel good, and then now you're maybe not in a real good mood, but you hear the song and then you feel good. You know what I mean? You ever had that?
Right.
You understand the reference?
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. It's been happening with Sabrina Carpenter with me lately.
My man. So what those are, all those are anchors. They're anchors. When you were in a peak state, you heard that song. So what we're going to do is when it's 4th and 5 on the 50, we're going to anchor this right. We're going to anchor Delta Dawn into playmaker, score touchdowns, winner. So all they need to hear when we got to play, they're already anchored there. We're just going to scream it out, Delta Dawn, Delta Dawn, Delta Dawn. And you watch their nervous system light up and how alert their face comes, and now they're ready to make a play. They're ready to get that 5 yards or go for the touchdown because they've been anchored that way. Does that make sense?
This makes a ton of sense. This is
It makes too much sense.
Okay.
Almost, yes.
All right, well, listen, let's get into the spiderweb stuff, man. So now you got to go into on the defensive side. And on the defensive side, of course, you got to have all the 6 human needs, so we're all gushing up and filled up and oozing from the inside out. And now we go on the defense, we go like playmaker, winner, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So you build all that. The defense probably needs uncommon strengths, you know what I mean? Stuff like that because, yeah. So you build all those things in on the defense, and then you move to the special teams. and then you build those in on the special teams, and you come back around to the offense, and there's 40 or 50 things that you're going to put in that offensive line, and every player on the team. I don't know those 40 or 50 things. I'm not qualified to know those, but I'm certainly qualified to implement the software to carry out the Super Bowl victory. That's my strength. I can implement the software. I just need to know what you want me to implement. And it's the conditioning process. Getting back to Fat Karen for a second. See, Fat Karen, when I'm done with her, I don't want to take Fat Karen out that same day and walk past the ice cream factory. Fat Karen might run in. She might think it's Burger King and try to run through the drive-through window. You know what I mean? But after Fat Karen goes to sleep and everything settles down in her brain and is reformed, the next morning I want to do a little rehearsal. I want to go through and do everything that we talked about, and then I'll know if I have any misfires, because I can track all those colors. I'll know if Fat Karen's ready to walk past or if she's ready to run through fucking 6 guys to try to get to that fudge, you know?
So, Scott, I got a question for you.
Anything, man.
So this is all making a ton of sense. Like Joey said, maybe too much sense. And I'm loving this. And now the question is this. The Lions report to camp about June, July-ish. They'll start reporting to camp and practicing as a team. If you showed up at the Lions facility at the start of camp, how long do you think it would take to get this spider web implemented?
Well, I'd like to implement the spider web. Not very long. Oh, not very long. This shit can happen in days. But I don't want to. The people that are for practice camp, no. These sons of bitches are out on the next. No. We're not.
No, I'm not talking the rookie mini camp. I'm talking the full roster.
53-man roster.
Jared Goff is there.
To go through the whole team to build a spider web?
Yeah.
To continue, how many things? We're conditioning 30 to 50 things in there. Well, I only know 2 other people besides me that have done what I've done, and I've got a couple of young bucks and as my sons, Brendan and Aiden. They're pretty sharp. Their dad groomed them, and they understand the subconscious, and they've seen me do stuff hundreds, if not thousands of times. So, and they do it themselves. I trained them. I taught them. So you got a team of 3 people working on. You got coaches, probably 70 people. You're looking
70 is a good number.
You're looking at. You can implement the whole spider web in 7 days, but now you got to go back through and reinforce it, and you're going to build off of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
yeah.
you know,
So, but you're saying
48 hours. I mean, you'll see so much difference that you won't even believe this. Honestly, you won't believe it. They'll be on steroids, man. And it's just a blessing.
So this is fantastic.
Mental steroids.
What's that?
I said it's like mental steroids.
Yeah, it's really like a blessing, man. It's really like a blessing, the type of blessing that only God can give, you know?
Right. I got a question. Scott, have you ever watched or had a player that you like specifically thought about as like, man, if I could just get my hands on this player, if I could just work with this guy, I think he'd be a totally different player. Like, do you see Jared Goff as like, would we see a total transition in him? Or like, is there someone that sticks out that like you just felt like needed the spider web, needed you to build something with them? And something was really holding them back. Is there someone that's
great question?
That is a great question. You got a 2-part question there. And the first part is, yes, his name's the quarterback, Superman for the North Carolina Panthers. He fell quick. His career went down. I sent him messages on Twitter and emails and all of this shit. He was looking for something. I forget his damn name, but the guy, I don't know what happened.
Cam Newton,
man. Oh, gosh. Yeah, I could have turned Cam Newton. I could have turned his ass in 24 hours. I could have turned him, and I couldn't reach him. And so, yeah, but Jared Goff, you're not going to make a whole new Jared Goff. What you do is
No.
you go through the Lions and the people that are already good. You improve that play by 15 to maybe 100%. You know what I mean? You improve that. But then the other people, there's some people that'll go up by 300%, have total transformations, but you don't know who they
Eric
are.
Ebron.
Talk to them. You got to ask.
Yeah.
Yes.
You don't know their challenges, man. Listen, I went down a long, rocky road for 20 years. Man, you talking about challenges, talking about pain, man. Telling you what, it's terrible, terrible, sad, just terribleness. But
Hey, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right?
my man, I appreciate you.
Joey, I know you had a really good question for Scott. I'll jump over to you before I hop in. I've got a couple questions, and then we're going to get into your. We're going to have you continue going, Scott. But I know we've got a couple questions.
Yeah, I got a couple things. One, my favorite one, he actually already touched on. I was going to ask, why now? And I didn't know if it was Dan Campbell that was making a difference for you versus in the past, Jim Caldwell. Do you see anything different with Dan Campbell than coaches in the past that you think the neural pathways would make a difference with?
Well, neural pathways make a difference with anybody, but Dan Campbell's a winner. I mean, that man, he goes for shit on fourth down. Like, he's the real deal, man. He's the real deal.
For sure.
But I forget that the other guy. What's his name? The head coach.
Jim Caldwell,
No,
Jim Schwartz, or Matt Patricia?
Schwartz. I actually had two shirts made for him. One said a black one that said "Real Men Love Jesus," and then a pink one for his wife, "Real Women Love Jesus." And I sent him a nice letter, and that son of a bitch, I stomp on his bitch so he call me. So, shit happens, man. I've been pursuing the Lions for a long time, and now I can say honestly that I'm ready. I'm ready. You go through life learning lessons. It's been a 20-year road for me, and man, God doesn't fix you in 20 years. You need more help than, man, that's a long set down, 20 years, brother.
For sure. I don't know if you've ever seen the show Billions, but this is going to be my pitch to the Lions for you. The show Billions, it's about this one of the largest hedge funds in the U.S. Well, they have a psychiatrist on staff to talk to all these big financial managers, wealth managers. I see that being your position at the Lions. You got your own office. You're going to be breaking down the new players, and whenever Jared Goff needs to talk to somebody, boom, he's in your office. You're breaking him down. You're helping him rediscover the purpose and a winning attitude. So our goal is to get you that in-house psychiatrist for the Lions.
Love you, man.
Yes.
Thank you. What a blessing. What a blessing. And something like that right there, that's a class 4 experience right there. That's class 4 because most people go through life and they have class 1 experience, and a class 1 experience is an experience that's like good for me. And then class 2 is when it's good for me and it's good for you. And a class 3 experience is when it's good for me, it's good for you, and it's good for others. But a class 4, that's when it's good for me, it's good for you, it's good for others, and it serves the greater good. Because we go into the Super Bowl and winning that.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell
Class
yeah.
4 experience right there. That's class 4.
I love that, Scott. I got a question for you.
Sure.
And this is so now in your experience, could there be negative side effects to this? Could creating the spider web go wrong? And have you ever seen that in any of the individuals that you've worked with?
Well, no, the spider web can't go wrong, but the process can certainly go wrong. Remember old fat Karen down there in that 20-foot sailboat and banging her head off? She's seeing a color. She's seeing a color. You stop on that color, fat Karen going to get fatter. You got to be able to navigate the storm, bro. You got to be able to navigate the storm. I'm a good captain. I navigate a lot of storms. No big deal. No big deal. But as far as the neural pathways and the spider webs going wrong, no, hell no, because they're all Christian things. You approved them. You want to be a superstar. You want to be a playmaker. You want to create turnovers. You want to score touchdowns. These are the things we're going to put in there. So how the hell's that going to go wrong?
So not as much a question, more of a statement of fact. I would like you to give out all of your socials because you are growing in popularity on social media. I know you had an X video that went viral, had 1 million views. You're popping up all over my TikTok and Instagram, so make sure that you get those out there. People, Scott's a must follow. And then also, you gave a shout out to 2 of your sons. You raised them so well. You also raised a great daughter. You got to give Lauren a shout out as well, because she's part of the reason why we're able to do this today.
Yeah, no, I appreciate all that. Yeah, family's important. Family's important. But I do got to give a shout out to Big Cat over there at Barstool. He's the one who posted that. And above that, it had a heading. It was a pretty impressive heading. He said, if Dan Campbell does not take this meeting, he's missing a very important competitive advantage. Might be ad-libbing there a little bit, but it was pretty good. And,
No.
I mean, I'm over here on TikTok, and I mean, I started February 1st, and I'm over 500,000 views, but he did that thing, and it was posted and reposted all over X, and I woke up in the morning, and one of them on Big Cat was 920,000, and the other one I think was like 46,000, and then it was reposted in different places, and I was like, man. And that felt really good because that was my first TikTok video ever. I mean, to have it go viral. And the thing about that was it took like a month for that to be reposted. And when that happened, it was like, oh my God, thank you, Jesus. Now you know God's working behind the scenes, you know? It was like, oh, yeah, God is working behind the scenes, man. I got 1 million views, 24 hours from a TikTok video, homie.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. And just so I and everybody knows, I mean, it'll at this point in the video it'll have been up all video, but I'm gonna have Scott's X handle as well as his TikTok handle up on the screen so you guys can go follow him and check his content out. And by the way, just throwing this out there, this is not the last time Scott's going to be on BBL. We're going to dive into a little deeper in the future. But Scott, I've got a question for you, and I don't think this has been brought up yet. How old were you when you realized you had this ability and this power?
Well, it's a gift. It's really a gift. And I've been given many gifts. I mean, I love Jesus. I love Jesus, man. I just love Jesus. And I've been given different gifts in my life, but this one here was really, it's been about 20 years, and I thought that I was going to instantly, I went from making $1 million a year in real estate I had 10 years of my life that I made $1 million a year in real estate, and then I lost 6 or 7 million in one, and then about 5,000 off my sister's credit card, and I was a millionaire again in a few months. So and then when I learned this, I'm like, I'm in, man. I'm in. I'll be making 10 million a year. Oh, dude, the same year I learned this, after I had 11 years of my life, I made $1 million a year. The very next year after I learned this, I made less than $10,000. Was homeless, living on the mountain that I previously sold.
Jeez.
I wish I would have had a dog. I'd have said, get him. So the Super Bowl's coming to Detroit. The Super Bowl's coming. Dan Campbell is too damn wise. MCDC is too damn wise. He sees it. He'll give somebody like me. That's the beautiful of Dan Campbell. That's the brilliant and amazing thing of Dan Campbell. He was on the 0-16 team when you lost yourself. You know, I mean, he's that type of guy. He's been through that pain and suffering. He'll give somebody 5 minutes. That's all I need, and the Super Bowl's coming to Detroit. Thank you, Jesus. Amen. It's just a wrap.
All right, Scott. We're going to wrap it up with this. I want you to look into the camera and pretend you're talking to Dan Campbell right now. Give your message to Dan Campbell why he needs to give Scott Constable 5 minutes of his time.
Well, the first thing I would do is I would ask Dan Campbell to close his eyes and tell me what he sees. And then when he tells me what he sees, he's probably going to see a video. And I'm going to ask him, is it up, down, to the left, to the right, or in the center? And then I'm going to have him put that video in the center and hold it there for 3 seconds. Then I'm going to say, hey, can I see your wrist for a second? Then I'm going to go right in here. You see there's a tender spot. You see this tender spot right here? Yeah, and then I'm going to squeeze on that for like 7 seconds on both parts of his hands. Then I'm going to start the process because now I know there's no pressure against the brain. His subconscious is centered, and he's going to be seeing colors in 2-3 minutes, and that 2-3 minutes is going to last for hours.
Scott, we seriously can't thank you enough. All the
Thank you,
hard
Scott.
work that you're doing for Detroit Lions fans. We've got to get this to Dan Campbell. We've got to get this to the Lions. Guys, if you're listening, tag the Lions on this video. Send this around to your
need a
friends.
Super
Get
Bowl.
the word out. We need a Super Bowl in Detroit
need
in
it.
2026, and Scott's the guy that's going to be there to bring
Scott's
it in
bringing
for
the
us.
Soupy.
He's
And
building the
Jesus-
spider web that will bring the Super Bowl.
So excited. Again.
I do.
Amen.
I do have one more question, Scott, that I did want to ask. What? We'll end on this. What's your favorite mountain range?
Oh, the Ozarks. The Ozarks. See, the Ozarks, the top of the Ozarks are rounded. You can use that land. You can build on top of it. You have cattle on top of it. You go down to the Blue Ridge Mountains in Asheville. Oh, man, you can't find 5 square yards of flat ground. They build on cliffs, man. So it's beautiful, but Ozarks. Down around Branson, Springfield.
Good answer. Good answer.
I love the Ozark Mountains. Love the Ozarks. I've done well in my life buying and selling mountains. There's a lot of money in buying mountains. A lot of money. The locals don't really know what they got. The locals, they have 100 acres and they raising cows on it, man. I turn that some bitch into my crop sale. But they up into 30 pieces.
Scott, we really
Scott,
can't thank you
so
enough.
much.
Appreciate it. This is not going to be the last time we're talking. We're working towards bringing a Super Bowl to Detroit in 2026. This is just the start. Again, this is Scott Constable on BBL Sports. Get the word out. Let's get this to Dan Campbell. Let's get Scott in the facility, and let's bring the Lombardi to Detroit next season.
Yeah, I want to be broadcasting. My man. My man.